Hey there, Justin from Join Off-Road in Colorado again. Sending this one home today. This is a 2019 E450 Forest River. I believe it's a Sunseeker. The model number is 2291S. So this thing came to us with a de-weldtec 6-inch lift kit, two-wheel drive lift kit on it, with 31-inch tires in the stock dually 16s. And its road manners were all right. The guy was more or less happy with the way it drove on the road, but every time he tried to use it off-road, which they were trying to do quite often, the thing would just get stuck. They'd take it out. It's kind of like a moto hauler for them, I believe. They take it out into the desert out in central Oregon, and it's just all sandy and loose out there and just kept getting stuck. They even tried re-gearing the rear axle with 513s and putting a true track in there, but it still wouldn't help it. So he decided that he just had to have four-wheel drive. So we started off by ripping all the de-weldtec stuff out from underneath it, which is actually all for sale. If anybody is interested in having that all installed with us at a discounted rate, you drop me a line. So anyways, all the de-weldtec stuff got stripped out and started back fresh with our stuff. And one thing I'll address real quick on that, a lot of people ask me to do this, and they always want to try and save a little bit of money because, you know, in most cases they wound up spending about 20 grand to get that two-wheel drive lift kit and all the stuff put on. You know, so they want to try and recoup some costs by reusing rear springs, rear shocks, stuff like that. There's too much different between what they do and what we do, so we just strip the whole kit off, and your secondhand kit will be worth more if it's complete with springs and shocks and sway bars and all that stuff, and we just start over with our stuff. They use a different spring manufacturer. You know, they use slightly different shocks in the back and everything, and we just, you know, it's best to not try and make it all play nice together. There's going to be a discrepancy in the ride quality difference front to back, so we just nip that in the bud, and we don't even mess around with trying to do that. So stripped all front and rear stuff out, and then went back in fresh like we always do. So 6-inch standard Class C four-wheel drive conversion kit, frame all cleaned up and painted. Got the standard Fox 2.0s. We've got some shock upgrades coming soon, which I'll talk about. Custom spec Alcan springs. Stage 3 front axle, and then of course it's 513 gears on this one to match his rear end he already had built. So there's a new housing, all the Dynatrack goodies, straight tie rod. He actually had some old Pro Comp wheels that he bought some time ago that we had repowder coated. So it's got the old school Pro Comps on it. Our standard favorite Falcon wheel and tire package, 285 7017 AT4 in the front. Then we have the NP1128 transfer case flanged front and rear. So we actually started off doing a one-piece CV on this drive shaft. We can usually get away with that on this 158-inch wheelbase chassis, but you know, we're going to get a lesson about drive shaft speed today. So every time you go up in a gear ratio, your drive shaft speed starts going up pretty exponentially. So these that we usually build with 456 gear, they have no problem at all with drive shaft speed. So a piece of tube that a drive shaft is made out of has what's called a critical speed that it can spin without deforming. And then once it hits that critical speed, it actually starts to do almost like a jump rope effect, and that causes obviously a very nasty driveline vibration. So the first time we experimented with putting 488s in one of these, the 3.5-inch tube that we usually use started whipping really bad. So we decided that on all these 158-inch wheelbase builds, whether or not it's 456s or 488s, it was going to get a 4-inch tube that we actually filled the tube with expanding foam to try and up that critical speed a little bit more on that tube. And it works totally fine on ones with 488s, but the 513 was kind of an experiment. We figured it was going to be pretty close. But right around 65 miles an hour, that drive shaft tube hit its critical speed, even with 4-inch, and it just started whipping really bad. So we actually had to fabricate a drive shaft carrier drop cross member up there and make our own carrier drop and everything, and go back to a 2-piece drive shaft to get it to not vibrate with those 513 gears. So I don't think that, because most rigs, we got lucky that we could actually add a carrier. Most rigs don't have room underneath here to add a carrier like that. So this 513s is not something we're going to offer in-house. This is going to be something, the max ratio we're going to be capable of doing on these is 488s. So let's see, we changed out the rear sway bar to a Hellwig with our direct mount rear links. Hellwig in the front too, obviously. Standard Dodge wheels in the back with a 255 8017 Falcon AT4 valve extenders. And then we just add this cheap little valve stem TPMS system on some of the older ones that don't have a factory TPMS. And let's see, nothing out back. We got the spare crammed up underneath it. You see he's got the big high capacity mag diff cover also. And let's see, what else did we do? I think just the front bumper, our FB002 front bumper, loaded up with all the Baja lights, Warren VR12S winch. This thing kind of had a cobbled together kind of OBA system on it, so we went ahead and hooked that up to our front bumper also. And that's about it on this one. So if you got any questions for me here at the Colorado shop, you can email me at justin@ujoinoffroad.com or get me in the comments or DM or whatever. If you're interested in a DIY kit or installation in North Carolina, you can contact Chris at ujoinoffroad.com. Thanks.